Welcome back to another episode of Tuffy Talk. We got our Pac-9 preview part 2 up here with Garrett Pennington from last year's magical run to Omaha. And in the first episode, we kind of did a little recap on the season and had some fun with I don't want to say at your expense, but with Garrett, kind of getting some of the things that he enjoyed from that season. So in this episode, we're going to break down the team as best as we can. So as we're recording this, we still have a couple weeks before opening day, and there's still lots of things to be worked out as they do. What do you guys? It's not spring training, obviously. So what do you guys call like the practice before the season starts? I mean, does it have an official name, or you just
go time?
Preseason go time. I like that.
Go time.
I like that. So those things are still being worked out. But we're gonna talk about some guys that are new to the program, and then some old guys that have that Garrett has passed the torch to, if you will. But as we talk about the team as a whole, I really want to focus on the pitching, because that seems to be what all the quote unquote experts are talking about, and that we are bringing the most back. Obviously, we had that freshman class that was unbelievable. That was really, really key to last year, where you had Ryan Marone, you had Cooper Casiglio, you had the dude, you had, I'm missing one, right? There was 4, right? 4 guys that
Wimbish.
Yeah, Wimbish, but he didn't get a lot of action. But I really want to talk about him. So I think I got them all. I could be wrong, but and then you have guys that like Willitson that's coming back from an arm injury, and a guy like Shane Van Dam, who will hopefully get back on the back end of the season. And you have, like I just mentioned, Duden, and I'm really curious about where he ends up in this rotation, whether he's going to be a back end guy or a starter, because you have so many arms. And you have like a Heath Andrews, who was on the team last year but didn't pitch a lot.
That's who you're missing.
That's who I was missing. Thank you.
Yep.
And then you have a guy like Andrew Schaffner, that like showed up big at Georgia, that he was really big towards the end of the season, and there's more guys. There's another one that could be a potential starter. I'll look at my roster here in a second, but just kind of talk to me about the pitching that we have on this staff, and what you think. What's that? Give me obviously not knowing all the hitters that we're going to have in the position players, but give me a number that if you said, give me this number and this pitching staff will win you a ball game. Like give me a number that you think would be like a good number.
5.
5.
4 or 5.
Yeah. I was thinking 5. You're sitting pretty. 4. You're like in good shape.
Yep.
Talk to me about some of these freshman guys, right? Because I honestly, and then I even mentioned Dom Fritton, who's coming back for another year, that I think is going to have a really good season, just because from what I understand, this is like one of the first seasons in a while he hasn't had to rehab something. And in early indications that he's been throwing really well in the first couple of practices. But kind of just talk me through who would you feel comfortable with being weekend starters? Because again, there's a lot of names that I just named, and where do you slot them? Because I feel like we have rags of riches of pitching.
I would probably do Willitson for sure, probably back in Sunday guy, and then I'd keep.
Do you think Willitson gets the Sam? Do you think Willitson gets the Sam treatment, kind of how we brought Sam back last year from his back injury?
I would sure hope so. I mean, this is the thing. I only saw him pitch once.
Yeah.
And I saw him pitch twice. Faced him once, and I was like, yeah, he's really good. And then the next time it was the injury, and that was it. Yeah. But I would say he would get the Sam treatment. I mean, he's been around for, if not Sam's.
They came in together. Yeah.
Yeah. He's been along for quite a bit. And I mean, he helped that team in years past, and hopefully he'll carry this team this year. But I would say him, Dom, of course. And then in my opinion, I think it's got to be Cooper Consiglio. And then Marone's your long-winded. Marone and Heath are your long-winded relief.
What about your midweek?
That's where I'm hoping they have some transfers.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Wimbush. Wimbush would be Heath Andrews would be a potential candidate there.
I kind of like Schaffner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he can hold it up there, but I mean I know he can. But depending on I like but Schaffner could be a back of the end bullpen pretty good nail with probably hand it over to Dude and The Rock.
So you like keeping Duden in the bullpen then?
I do. I think I do, but then again, he could have developed more pitches, and I don't talk to him much about baseball. I usually just check in and see how he's doing.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
But
yeah, I mean that's the last thing these guys want to talk about, right? Like it's like coming home and talking about work. Like you don't want to come home and talk about work. You just did it. So,
Yep.
That's fair. You kind of talked about D-Rock in the first episode. Just talk to me like I feel like it was the Clemson game that he or maybe the FSU game. I can't remember like which one that it really just kind of snapped into form for him, because he's a guy along with Duden that had they spent time with Team USA over the summer. Just talk to me about the progression of like their season or his season, and then kind of what you expect for him to, what carryover effect do you think that'll have for this year?
So, I mean, there was one game, and I think everybody knew it on the team, that D-Rock flipped a switch, and it was like untouched, and he was throwing freely, and it was going where it needed to go, and it was pretty electric. And with his arm angle, his arm action with that slider, I mean, as a hitter, you look at it, and you're like, oh, it's a fastball, and then it just hits the other side of the batter's box, and you're like, I don't even know what happened. But him ending that year and then going to USA, it should have a pretty big impact. I mean, from where he was at the start of last year, he was like, I might get a few innings, I don't know, to then being our dominant closer and one of the best stoppers in college baseball, in my opinion. He will get this year will be fun for him, I feel like. And fun is, he's going to be the stopper, and he'll be comfortable in that role. I mean, he did it in Georgia. He did it in all these big games, even in these sweeps. I mean, and you can also flip him and Duden when you need a break on one of them. I mean, they both have the mentality. They both have closed games. I mean, I think that them having that mentality and being able to be in that position and not just flip the switch and here you go, you're out into the season. Like, they've done it. They know what they're doing. They're veteran guys. I mean, they might be young. D-Rock's a little older, but they're both veteran guys on the mound, and they know how to control that mound pretty well.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah, you talk about they're kind of D-Rock being one of the elder statesmen of the team. This is a very young team. There's only like I think I counted like 5 or 6 juniors, a senior / grad guy, and so it's going to be interesting. And then you have guys that we mentioned, the freshman pitchers. They still have one more season after this before they're draft eligible. So it's a young team. We brought some transfers in, but like even the transfers were pretty young. I think there was one guy that we brought in. That's a position player. I can't remember his name.
He's from Vandy. First baseman.
Yeah, the Vandy guy. And then there was a guy, the guy from San Diego that's going to be a middle infielder, because I'm still trying to figure out, like, Luke can play both second and short. So, how does that work out? Again, we're recording this and it's still early. Justin DeCrisio, I think is how you say it. He's a West Coast guy. And, Lincoln Trail Community College transfer, Braden Frostman, who is one of the D1 guys that was mentioned as a top transfer guy. But yeah, so a very young team. What do you like? Is that a good thing? Is it do you prefer a more veteran club? Because that kind of changes the dynamics of the locker room. And you said that's a big thing for you.
And before we get going back into this amazing interview, we want to take a quick second and tell you about Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 different offices throughout Eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their website at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
I mean, I would say last year we had probably 5 or 6 grad guys. Mm-hmm. So you had old, and then it was a big drop off. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, I've been talking to Niner, and he's like, yeah, we're a really young team, and I think everybody knows that we're a really young team, but that's usually, I think it's the guys that have played quite a bit, Luke, D-Rock, Dom, yep. Sosa, Hevner, and all of them. I mean, just everybody who's been there. I mean, it's just like us old guys, we knew what it's like to and what it takes. And then to be able to show these young guys, I mean, now they have everything they need to know. For God's sake, they made a run to the World Series. They know what it takes. They know what it looks like. They know everything that it's going to take to get there. So hopefully they can show I mean, it was the same story, 20 new guys last year, and there's 20 new guys this year. So that half that was already there, I mean, they'll be getting their World Series rings, and they're like, hey, this is how it looks. This is how it needs to be. So that should be the leadership and all the team chemistry that you should have. So I wouldn't say old is a big deal. I would just say experience is a big deal.
Yeah, I would agree to that point, right? Like you just mentioned, like the guys that have already been to the College World Series, they're going to be hungry to get back, right? Unfinished business, kind of one of those mantras, if you will. Carson, what do you got over there? You've been kind of quiet.
Yeah, but I do want to talk about these transfers for a sec. So DeCrisio transfers in from San Diego, where he spent 2024 starting in all 49 games, and particularly has been good at batting. He posted a .308 batting average and 61 hits. He's also known for being sneaky, stealing 10 bases last season. So he's been pretty good, and hopefully we'll see him have success in the red and white. And then you talk about Frostman. Frostman comes in from Lincoln Trail after playing there for 2 seasons, and in those 2 combined, he made 51 appearances, hit an average of 0.348, including 30 doubles, 4 triples, and 20 home runs. So it seems like these transfers are going to be much more known with the hitting than fielding, but still should be pretty good at fielding.
Yeah, I would agree with that. To that point, though, Garrett, like you're replacing pretty much the whole infield. You have one guy /2 with Havner and Wilson having spent, playing time last year. Is that a big deal, like having to work a whole new infield in, like just kind of get used to, especially as a first baseman, learning how to like receive the ball from those guys and just kind of getting used to, those type of things?
I mean, I would say, but the other thing a lot of people don't think of is the coaching staff behind that infield. I mean, Hart's one of the best infield guys you can ever think of. I mean, you got Bo in the outfield, you got Avent watching over at both sides. I mean, it's when you have Hart and JT on the infield, it's hard. A lot of teaching goes on. So, I mean, first base, you're just catching the ball. I mean, that's honestly just keep it in front of you and hopefully it lands in your glove. But, yeah, I mean, with how many reps you get in the fall, it should be pretty – you should know every guy's arm. Like Butters, Amack, and Luke, Hevner, and all of them last year. I mean, it was pretty easy to get used to those guys. I mean, they do a really good job of putting the throws where they need to go, and if they don't, I try my best to help them out. But, yeah, no, the coaching staff will do a great job. I don't think that defense should be ever worried. And, I mean, from what I'm hearing, we are a very good defensive team, and as they say, NC State always hits. So I think it should be a pretty good year. So.
Yeah, and again, you lost guys like Amac, Serrano, Cozy, yourself. That's a lot of offense that you have to replace. And we kind of touched about it a little bit on episode 1, but it's, if anything, we talked about your progression from Wichita State to NC State, and then Amac obviously from ECU to State last year, leading pretty much us in every hitting category, if you will. Just again, if anyone can figure it out, it's Coach Hart, right? From an offensive perspective, and I guess just that's the one thing that people keep talking about. Whether someone, an analyst from D1, is the casual fan, like just kind of again talk me through like talking people off the ledge. That's probably a better way to say that, because NC State fans, we love to like the sky is falling, the sky is falling.
Yeah, it's so Bo and Hart. I mean, they will work with you until you have it figured out. So whatever you feel, I mean, they're more about confidence and doing all that. So if you have the confidence, I mean, you can pretty much accomplish anything you want. But yeah. I mean, if you're living and dying on the edge as an NC State fan, like the one thing you can always look back in every year, Hart says it all the time. He said, do we ever have a problem hitting? No. Right. Never have an issue. NC State always hits. You can ask other teams. You can ask other teams' coaches. It's NC State always hits. So that's kind of the main thing that I would say for fans. I mean, you fans didn't know really much about our offense last year, and then look how it turned out. So
right. That's kind of been my response to that as well. It's like, there was a lot of unknowns on the offensive side coming into last season, and it worked out pretty good. The one name I kind of want to throw out is to see if you know anything about him. Maybe just having him, see him coming around the program because he's a true freshman. Ty Head, he's a name that is getting a lot of buzz as a true freshman. Do you know much about him?
I don't.
It's fair.
I don't want to lie to you and say I do.
I would appreciate you just saying no instead of making up fake stuff.
I don't want to butcher the kid. Yeah. I don't even know him.
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, it just seems like he has all the tools, both from a defensive perspective and then the hitting as well. He's been getting a lot of rave reviews. So I was just curious, because that's another thing. Like, this team was so solid. Like, yes, we have returning guys coming back from last year, especially from the position players, but it's guys other than Luke Nixon that is kind of, you had Josh Hogue, who was having a fantastic season, and I want to talk about him in a minute, before he broke his leg, and I know something about that, and that's not a fun injury to deal with. But you've brought in a lot of guys. You've brought in Jet Gillum. He's a transfer from community college. I think he was at like Southern Nevada or something like that. And so you're having to plug and play, fill holes, those such of things. But to your point, I'm not worried about it. How much of that gets figured out in the early part of the season? I'm just trying to remember from last year, like the offensive shuffling of the lineup, just trying to find people's roles and where they slot.
I mean, I would say the first time you really see what our lineup might look like is at that Duke scrimmage, which, I mean, opening day, that was pretty much our lineup the first game. I mean, then you flip around a few things, like Noah intertwined from leadoff and all of that. Eli was up and down. But when we locked it in, I think from the Clemson series, we didn't really change much unless it was a matchup thing. But, I mean, I would say that's about pretty much. I mean, locking in roles is probably until you get the first few weekends in, maybe midweeks mess with them a little, but usually that's what Niner did. I mean, he'd put Sosa in there, defense, give Cozart a break, and then you'd have him somewhere in the lineup. You have Hogue. Hogue will be a really good bat. And, I mean, just being able to have those – we had pieces that you could flip anytime you wanted, really. Right. And then once it got hot, lineups get hot. So you just got to – I mean, I'm not going to say I'm a coach, but sometimes you just got to look at stuff and be like, hey, if it doesn't work, then we might have to change it. If it does, keep it. But I mean, a lot of hitting is depending on all the way down. So you have guys who, hey, if he gets on, here comes a hit and run. You have a high contact guy behind him, or here's a guy who can hit doubles into the gap or hit it over the fence. Here's your drive-in runs guys. I mean, it's all of that. And sometimes it's baseball. Hitters get hot. Hitters hit slumps. You never know.
Yep.
You just got to change as it goes.
Yeah, the one thing I'm interested in seeing is like two things from a hitting perspective is who's going to be the DH, right? And that's something that you can, work out. You saw Sosa sitting in that role most of the last year, except for when he was out. And we'll talk about him at depth here in a couple of minutes. But is that who ends up in the DH, and then who's that first bat off the bench if you need a pinch hitter, right? And so you had someone,
Chase Nixon,
thank you. I knew it was Nixon. I was just trying to get the name. So he transferred to, I believe it was Memphis. So like who fills those two roles? Because I think those are real important, low key things. So just kind of like how important is it someone, because like obviously you didn't have to be a pinch hitter, but like that's a tough role, and so you need someone fun. And you get your one opportunity, and your whole day is either thumbs up or thumbs down, and and it's someone that coming in, you want to. I mean, that was the one thing that I loved about Chase Nixon is he would fight pitches. I mean, like he would battle. I remember at least, just whatever. And even if he didn't quote unquote get on base, but it was a good at bat, right? It was a successful, just working counts or whatever, trying to get that pitcher out and get to the next pitcher. But just kind of talk to me through the pinch hitter role, because I think that's an underrated thing.
I do think it's very underrated. I mean, it takes a lot. I mean, you could be sitting there for 7 innings and then they're like, hey, get hot, which, I mean, it's tough to get hot. I mean, especially, depending on the weather, it's tough to get hot. And you're like, I haven't swung since BP, which was probably 3 or 4 hours ago. And then you try to go face one of the top pitchers in the ACC, which it's really tough. And it's usually you get one AB and that's about it. But I would say, I mean, roles like, what's the freshman's name that you guys were talking about? Tyhead?
Tyhead, yeah.
Tyhead. I would say, I mean, if he's got a lot of upside, then getting him, depending on if he starts or if he doesn't, there's an option. Or, I mean, you could even throw other guys in there, which I don't know the full roster, but last year it was Heavener got ABs, and then he kind of showed himself into when we were running into injuries, and then you had Lanfear in there who got hot really quick, and Lanfear is going to be a really good bat.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up at the DH, to be honest with you. Or at least get the first crack at it, if you will.
Yeah, I think him and Sosa will probably flip, because Lanfear's a really love him behind the plate. So I think him and Sosa will kind of flip back and forth behind the plate. But then again, I'm not writing the lineups. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you have both good options back there at catcher. I mean, it's hard to complain with both of them back there. Drew works his ass off, and so does Sosa. So you got a really good catching core back there. So it's hard to complain with them two, and they both can swing it. So the role of the DH or even the pinch hitter, I mean, you just got to have – it's not all about you. Like sometimes – I mean, you even have Bechtel. I don't even know if he's still hitting, but –
He is, yeah. I was kind of going to bring him up in just a minute, but I'll let you finish your thought there.
But you have certain pinch hitter guys. Like we brought him in Hawaii because they're like, hey, he's got to hit a home run there. He's got to hit a home run. Yep. Yeah. And when he did that, you're like, hey, there's our power pinch hitter. And then you have the guys like Chase Nixon who you're going to get a good AB, put it in play. Like he's not going to go down easy. So to have those type of guys come off the bench, like that's always a good thing, and you always have a backup plan when, say, you don't like the matchup, or to have a righty and a lefty be back there in your pocket. Like that's all positives and pluses for that.
Yeah. You guys, you have anything before I go on to my next question?
Yeah, I know you got more player-specific questions. Mine's switching gears a little bit to have you seen the the newest plans for the Doak renovations and stuff, and kind of what are your thoughts on that for helping to keep growing the program?
Well, and I'll add one more caveat to that because I want to hear this answer too. Based off of that, how impressive is it to what State does based off of what it's compared to the rest of the ACC? Because I think that's an important thing that people miss.
We like to call it the JUCO of the ACC is what we call it. I mean, the facilities are pretty JUCO, except the field and playing surfaces is something the best you can ever get, especially with the Jumbotron and all of that stuff. Like 2 hitting cages and you don't have anything else. You have maybe 2 outside cages that we use during practice. But I mean, you look at the facilities, the locker rooms, everybody's allowed. I mean, that's part of the team atmosphere thing. So if you have a lot of cool stuff, like at my other schools, we had ping pong. So we were always going in there, hanging out, doing ping pong stuff, watching TV. But, I mean, we did a really good job about being a really good team just because, I mean, it's who we were. That's kind of our identity. But I would say, I mean, I haven't seen the official renderings of it. And I think I texted Niner. I literally talked to him yesterday. And I don't know when I asked him, but I was like, hey, if you got the upcoming renovations, I'd love to see him. He's busy. So didn't get to see those. But I talked to Cal Tomasic, if you guys know who that is. But he said, yeah, it's coming along. It'll be I wish they would have got it going sooner. I mean, my recruiting thing was, hey, we'll have this thing going by fall. And I'm like,
they were selling it before you even came.
Oh, yeah. And which I'm just glad they got it going. I mean, that's what everybody deserves in the program, and to give back to all those players and to, I mean, it's hard to recruit. I will say that, especially with those facilities and do what they do. Like, people don't think about recruiting. They just think about, oh, these guys have a hitting cage. Like, they got what they need.
Everything they need, right? Yeah.
And then you're facing people like, let's say, Georgia or not any of these SECs. Like, I was in the portal. I was getting all of these offers from all these big facilities, and I'm like, it'd be really nice to have those. But then you run into the coaches, and you're like, it's hard not to come to NC State because of the coaching staff. So, I mean, it's more about putting your trust in the coaching staff and not all the facilities.
All the flashy stuff.
But now you're going to get both of them, and this could be a dangerous combo. So they should help a lot, I would say. But,
and they're still working on them really big, right? Because whenever I'm parking at school, I park at West Deck, which is right next to Doak. And when I was parking today, there was just big line across the street, completely closed off, a bunch of construction going on. I did not see any of that last week. So big steps for Doak.
Yeah, they
baseball season in 3 weeks.
It's crazy. It looks like a war zone.
Could have done it all fall. Could have done it.
I've heard some things that I won't share here, and we maybe talk offline. Yeah, probably. You're probably hearing the same things. So I kind of wanted to swing back here, spend the last couple of minutes talking about your former locker buddy, Alex Sosa, a guy that came in highly touted as a freshman last year. Ran into a little hard luck, if you will, being down for 5 weeks and losing 20-some pounds. A lot of people just don't realize, because everyone wanted to talk about his slump. I think he was like over 30 something, right? It's a big thing being down for 5 weeks, losing all that weight, and just trying to get your timing back. And by the way, you're getting your timing back in live bullets, if you will. But you saw him come on strong in the postseason. Again, we talked about in episode 1 with that moonshot in Georgia. So just kind of talk me through him, kind of your expectations of, today he was just named top 50 catcher. He's actually, I did some digging. This is all by D1, by the way. This is the only authoritative source I believe in. And I actually want to ask you about some of that stuff too here in a minute, because I think the rest of them are trash, but I kind of wanted your opinion as well. But so he was number 18 on that list, and he was the actual number 2 underclassman on that list. I won't tell you who number 1 is because we don't talk about that team here. But just kind of give me your thoughts on Alex and what you think he can be capable of this year.
Wolfpack Nation, I know that you're enjoying and loving this interview. I want to interrupt this interview for just 1 second and tell you about Oconee Gold, a small batch barbecue, y'all, who has some awesome, delicious barbecue sauces and rubs, and even merchandise too that you will love and enjoy. Again, they have barbecue sauces starting with their original, which is a sweet brown sugar based mild barbecue sauce, but they also too have barbecue sauces that are spicy, jalapeno flavored, mustard based, vinegar based, and then they also have too, again, a delicious dry rub that's great. All your chicken, pork, seafood, beef, you name it. If it's any kind of meat whatsoever, that rub will take it to the next level. I can guarantee you that for sure. So again, go and check out their website, www.aconigoldbarbecuesauce.com. Use the coupon code TuffyTalk to get 15% off your entire order. And if your order is also over $99, you also get free shipping as well, y'all. So again, go to aconigold.barbecuesauce.com. Use the coupon code TuffyTalk to get 15% off your entire order. Enjoy it, y'all. You will love it, and I can guarantee you that. And as always, go pack and get you some, y'all.
Sosa's a really good player. I mean, he's got, even from last year, you could tell his swing is dialed in. The main thing that I always loved about Sosa is he takes his pitches. He's not one of those jumpy freshmen that swings at everything. And no, has these, we called them big league takes. I mean, he has big league takes on pitches, which that's every year that he plays more and more, that will get more and more zoned in. I mean, I would say he had a better eye than I did. I swung it a lot more than he did, but just that veteran type of mentality.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you.
But I mean, as a high schooler, especially with him, like, and how touted he was, he's probably never struggled like he did. And then I was always his locker buddy, so it was him and I were really close to each other. We always talked, and it was just one of those things, and he handled it really well and joked about it. And if you take it too serious, I mean, you're going to end up never loving baseball ever.
Right.
So, which, I mean, he has the recognition he needs. I mean, he's one of the best freshman hitters that I've seen, especially like even just his takes are big league, and it's really good. And especially every at bat that he gets under his belt, he's going to get that much better, which he's a really good player, and he'll be really good when this year, coming up years, and hopefully I'll get to see him here in a couple of years.
Yeah, that would be I think he's, we kind of one of the things, he's only a sophomore, so next year is his draft eligible year, but we got 3 guys this year in the top 150 for the Major League Baseball draft, and that's D-Rock, which we've obviously talked about, and Dom Fritton, and then Shane Van Dam, who, look, we didn't even talk about Van Dam. He's someone that probably will be back. I'm hearing like late April, May, maybe.
Yeah.
They'll be cautious, obviously, bringing him back along. But that's another arm you put in the pen. Even if you're
that's
getting
a huge arm you put.
It's a huge arm, yeah. I mean, and he was just dealing before his injury, which was real unfortunate. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, when he got hurt, that was when I feel like, when he got hurt, I feel like that was when D-Rock kind of picked it up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that's what I think changed. But yeah, Shane's a big arm. That's a really impressive athlete and a big arm. So
yeah. And 2 pitchers that we haven't even really talked about. And again, we're trying to, we'll probably spend a couple more minutes here because we can talk ball all night, but I know you got better things to do with your life than talk to 3 knuckleheads. But a couple of impact pitchers that are coming in ranked by D1, Eli Pillsbury and Landon Carr. Some guys that I think, will eat up some innings. Again, these are dudes that, I mean, you just keep rolling out pitcher after pitcher after pitcher. I think we have a really nice mix of lefties and righties, which is always important. It's, you always seem to not have enough lefties on teams, but I think State's done a really nice job collecting some arms there. Again, the proof will be in the pudding when the live bullets come, but I'm excited. D1 has us ranked in the top. We only brought really 3 impact guys in as freshmen, and we got ranked number 23. Just so that just goes to speak to the who they are and what they are. But the last thing I kind of want to talk about is just the coverage of college baseball. Like, it's grown a lot, like from when I was a kid watching, basically the only thing you ever saw was the College World Series on TV, and now thanks to streaming and all of those things, pretty much every game is available on some kind of platform. But what can we do more to grow the game? Like, because I feel like we're making progress, but again, I just talked about D1 baseball. I think they're the best source out there. You've got Perfect Game, which I think after they ranked us number 36 in the country as a preseason poll, and I get it's preseason, it doesn't mean anything, but that's just complete trash.
Especially being one of the top 8 teams last year.
Yeah, it's insane. And I get it. We talked about the hitting situation, and that's if we had quote unquote, if you come back, I think there's like 60-70% of offensive production. I didn't do exact math because math is hard for me, but there's a lot of production that you've lost from this team. So I get the concern, but the track record that we've already talked about with the coaching staff, like I feel like you have to give NC State the benefit of the doubt at this point. But just kind of talk me through, what can we do better to showcase and highlight college baseball, because I think it's great.
I don't know if you guys have ever as a kid, I was always the guy who's like, I'd rather watch college baseball over
1,000%
the MLB every day of the year. Because these kids are, no hate to the MLB, but you're playing 162 games and they matter, but they don't matter like college do. Like college guys are trying to win conference games, are trying to win every game to have their record be good. I spent all of my time when I was at home. I'd turn on the TV as soon as I woke up in the morning, and I'd turn on YouTube and go to Wheels. I don't know if you guys know what Wheels is, but it's on YouTube. But he covers every game. That's like a big game. He covers every game in a highlight. So it's like a 20-minute highlight video. Like every baseball player knows.
Wheels with an S or a Z?
With an S, and it's just Wheels based, and he does college football highlights too.
Okay,
but
cool.
He'll have like all the seasons, and like even to this day, like I'll go back and watch like our games and see replays of it just to relive moments like it. But I've watched the Georgia series 3 times. See, that's the one thing I haven't really watched. Like, I haven't sat down and I've watched the highlight stuff, but I really want to sit down and find the recording of it. But I know I can go on.
I'll shoot you a link. I'll show you where you can find it. I'll shoot you a link.
Man, I would appreciate that. But I would say that's a big deal. But a lot of these people don't want to be the time stuff of baseball. But I feel like college baseball is so quick now. I would say they just need to show it more often.
Mm-hmm. Like on regular cable, not streaming, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know how the viewer stuff and all that stuff works, but like you're going to put a 30 for 30 over a college baseball game. Like,
it's fair.
I'm going to watch but that's me being a college baseball player. I don't know how the public feels. I don't know how about it, but I would rather watch it. I'm sure my old lady would rather watch college baseball than a 30 for 30. Like, she's a trooper. she would watch every game with me and replays and all of that. So, but I would say that's a big part of it. And I think Wheels is a big part, which he has a lot of subscribers and stuff. But D1 baseball does a really good job with all these players. I don't think many of us buy into the subscription, so we don't read into that stuff until maybe we have a kid or something like that. But I think perfect game from what I've been told by some of the parents from, because obviously they're the ones going through this, and like to your point you just said, it seems like a big scam. It's a money grab.
Yeah, it's a money grab. Yeah, it's almost like AAU, where it's not more about the development. It's about how can I get rich easy and quick, because you need me more than I need you. I would agree. But look, at the end of the day, states ranked 15, 16-ish in most
I feel like there's
logical
a few 13s in there, right?
There was. I think there was 2 13s and a 15 or 16, and then like that 36, which it's like the Olympics. You throw out the ridiculous score and you keep the other ones.
Exactly.
But we're not going to do predictions right now because I think they're kind of silly. But I think State's going to be in the mix for a host, for definitely a regional. Could be borderline top 8 seed. I think there's potential there. Again, the ACC is just so tough. And we did okay on the schedule. I think, Carson, do you want to talk about that for just a second? Like, because I know you did some previews for the Pac-9, but just kind of like we don't have we don't have FSU this year, so like there's
I know
no
we have
Jamie.
Miami this year.
Yeah, and Miami's kind of a weird one because they brought in
They're
a lot of.
always yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Big portal guy.
Big portal team. So and then we have like UVA. That's going to be a super tough series. We got
We play
Duke.
Pitt
That's
this year, don't we?
Pitt. So that's kind of like, okay, that's a nice to have because they're usually not
Clemson.
traditionally. Yeah, Clemson's going to be good, but again, that's at home, so I like that.
Virginia.
Yeah, Virginia. So we do face a pretty tough ACC schedule. We got Virginia Tech, which I think they're okay. I think they'll be probably a 9-10 standing. They'll finish probably 9-10 somewhere around there, maybe even as high as 8. But I just based off of what you know from the ACC and it being a grind, like what do you like? What do you think we need to do to put ourselves in a really good position? I'm not going to really talk about the midweek games because those are just kind of whatever. Now, we do play a nice out-of-conference schedule. We go down to Jacksonville and play in that tournament. We'll have Alabama and Ohio State and Coastal, with Alabama and Coastal kind of being the highlights of that tournament.
Yeah.
And then we have a home and home again, obviously with ECU, and then a home and home with UNCW and a home and home against Greensboro. So a nice that's the nice thing too about Carolina. There's so many good opponents.
Oh yeah.
You can, I think we have Campbell in there too, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
Usually we had them last year.
Yeah. So
We
you
had
don't have
them
to
once.
go far. Yeah, we only put them once, I think, last year.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go far to get good competition. But just give me your final thoughts on what State needs to do to, have a really successful season and put themselves into the postseason conversation.
I would say the main thing they need to do is take game by game. We were a really good team that once we got swept on a weekend, like we were like, oh, what happened? And then it was, here comes the midweek. And then if we weren't prepared, then, but if you hold on to those losses and it just starts eating, it's just like a slump. The more you think about it, the more it's going to be hard to dig yourself out of that hole.
Yeah.
But, I mean, all you got to do, this is the simple answer.
Yeah.
Score more runs than the other team.
Sure.
But
isn't that the beauty of baseball where you can literally just like you saw it, and you mentioned it in episode 1, the Georgia series was a prime example. We went up, lit them up game 1. They kind of gave us our own taste of our own medicine. And then game 3 was, like you said, the rubber match to where, baseball truly is the next day. It's a completely different game.
All it takes is a bad pitcher to have a good day, and you don't know what hit you. So
yeah.
that's all it takes.
Well, man, you know what? We even talked about my last question to you, and then if anyone else has a question, we'll wrap it up. But just kind of give me your thoughts of your transition from college baseball to pro baseball. Obviously, you're in the Tigers organization. Just kind of give me your thoughts.
It's fun. I mean, it's hard to complain when you're playing baseball for your job.
Sure.
Which right now I'm back home, and people are like, "Oh yeah, it's great to," which it is awesome. And I thought the season and off season wouldn't be as long, but it's a pretty good balance, honestly. And it's hard to complain about playing baseball all the time. I mean, it's just you're not fully grown up yet, and now you're getting to do the dream that you get to play when you were a little kid.
Awesome.
Like it's
freaking
that
awesome.
1% chance that you got, and you got to take it. But I mean, baseball's pretty much still the same. You're still going up levels. You're doing all that. You're facing competition, which I would say, I mean, being in the ACC, like you get to face a lot of top pitching and stuff like that. So it really prepares you for minor leagues and all of that. So I would say it's the main difference is like they control your workload a little different. Like you couldn't go in there and hit extra swings after your day or whatever like that, because they're like, hey, like you're doing this 6 days out of the 7.
Yeah.
And it's
taxing.
It's a grind. Yeah. Which I haven't done a full season, which I'm looking forward to it. But I mean, it's just like summer ball, but now you're getting paid for it. So it's fun. It's hard to complain. You meet a lot of great guys. Like I've already met a lot of great guys, and everybody's from different areas. It's a whole hodgepodge of guys, and I mean,
what about
it's
playing
fun.
against some of your former teammates? I know you had a little action last year against some of those guys. What was that like?
Played Sam and Whit, so it was fun. I mean, seeing like, and even guys that I played with at Wichita, like they're all in the league, and it's fun to see all those guys because they're like, hey, like, do you remember us playing each other? Which you never really think of it until you're actually there, and you're like, hey, I played that guy, and it's fun. It was fun to play Sam and Whit. I mean, I only knew them from playing with them, and now I was on the. It was just like a live AB.
Yeah,
I've seen them a million times, and here we go. But no, it's always fun facing those guys, and you get a smile. It's the smile. You got a smile in the game, and you step on the mound, and they're all looking serious, and you're like, okay, this is just another day in the office. So
it's about the business at that point. Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah. Carson or Michael, you have anything that you wanna end on? I know we've gone long, but like I said, I love baseball, and I can sit here and talk for hours. But either guys, you got anything final for Garrett before we wrap?
No, I'm good. Thanks for coming on, Garrett.
Yeah, we
Thank
really
you guys for having me.
Yeah, of course. Carson, any parting wisdom that you have? Anything that you did in your research? I know you did a lot of stuff, and you got some stuff coming out this week with the technician. But you got anything good to wrap?
No, I think we covered most of my content for this week. We'll just have to see what we can do this season.
Yeah, and there's guys that we didn't even talk about that we could have. Again, I was trying to be cognizant of everything and get some good info out. And look, we'll be talking about this a lot during the season on our streams, and then we'll probably put some episodes. I want to do some more baseball content because, like I said, I could talk for hours. But Garrett, really quick, I know you don't do any social media, right? You don't have anything out there that you want to plug. You're pretty low key. I had to search you high and low.
I got the Jaw Bats on there, which they're my wood supplier for my I've had them since I was a freshman, sophomore, junior in high school. They've been my wood bat go-to. So if you guys ever get bored, go look at their stuff. They do a really good job, and I mean, they create some cool bats, and especially high quality bats, which I love them, and they do a really good job. But that's about it's about all I got pretty much.
All right. Well, Wolfpack Nation, we really appreciate it. We're looking forward to seeing you guys out at the Doak this year. Let's make another run to Omaha. We got like I said, we got unfinished business. I'd like to win one of these. I've been out to Omaha a couple of times. 21 was stolen. 24 was good. We just kind of fell up short. A couple of pitches. We didn't really want to dwell on that, but let's go do it again. I think these guys are hungry. I know, having talked to some of these parents, they're ready to go back to Omaha, and let's do it again. So again, Wolfpack Nation, thanks so much for tuning in with us. Again, like I said in episode 1, make sure you're following us on all our social media channels, especially here on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you're locked in on those notifications. And we appreciate you, and make sure you hit us on X with any kind of questions. We would love to follow some content for you guys. If you got any ideas, we're always open. And we'll do it one last time. As always, Wolfpack Nation, go Pack.
Go Pack.